I'm really looking forward to interact with such a great panel of highly experienced and intellectual bunch in this two-day international webinar series. I'll just give a brief background. The Research Culture Society, in partnership with Maharishi University and SKC Lawyers and Solicitors, has convened a two-day webinar on legal and contemporary issues in COVID-19 and disaster management. COVID-19 has impacted nations across the world, disrupting lives, economies, and societies. The way ahead to recovery planning is to rethink approaches and mainstream COVID-19 response into development planning across sectors. With a vision to enable knowledge sharing and information to spur innovative thinking around issues surrounding COVID-19 pandemic management, gender-based violence, psychological support, etc., we have our honorable speakers sharing great insights with us today. The discussions shall mainly be focused on the role of partners in steering integrated approaches towards creating a safer world and enhancing preparedness for future epidemics. The speakers shall also share their insights on the next steps to promote strengthening of the health systems, equitable access to health services, intersectoral collaboration and resilience. With this background, I would like to introduce our guests of honor today. Firstly, I would like to welcome our chief guest, Mrs. Jyotika Kalra ma'am, Honorable Member, National Human Rights Commission. Before joining this commission, ma'am was an advocate on record with the Supreme Court of India, a practicing advocate for more than 27 years. She was also an independent director of Power Grid Corporation India and Minda Sai Limited. She has filed many public interest litigations. Significant among them is opening up a channel for females to practice as makeup artists in cine industry after 60 years, raising the issue of non-recruitment of women in the armed forces, such a landmark judgment. She has also been honored by the Supreme Court for 3 of her books. She was given the award of an outstanding woman in 2014 by the National Commission for Women. She is a regular guest at national and international conferences. Her articles mainly related to women in law have been published by many newspapers and magazines. She is also a guest faculty at the Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. With this brief background, I would like to hand over the dais to our Honorable Member NHRC, Jyotika Kalra ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Sumitra, and thanks to the organizers for giving me this opportunity. There are ample issues which we can discuss about the citizens' rights during this pandemic period, and I can talk about migrants, I can talk about children, I can talk about women, all those things. But I think this is a limited time, and I would like to first emphasize upon the little bit of research which I have found on the government schemes which have been made available during this period of pandemic, and especially for the business entrepreneurs, MSME loans, etc. So I would like the host to please enable the screen sharing for me. Do you want to, is it available to me, the screen sharing?
Yes, ma'am, you can share.
Okay. So I'll just share, I'll begin with some of the schemes. Is my screen being shared? Hello? Is this okay?
No, still not, sir.
My screen is not being shared?
No.
So what is coming on the...
Ma'am, try to share now.
Okay. And to be quite important. And the title is Atmanirbhar Bharat, the way forward. And these are the salient features which the government of India has given for the promotion of business, especially the smaller business, that is the MSMEs. And for that reason, the government of India has amended the definition of MSME, where the investment has been extended to 1 crore, turnover has been extended to 5 crore. A small enterprise is where the investment does not exceed 10 crore and the turnover does not exceed 50 crores. And the medium enterprise has also been defined as where the investment does not exceed 50 crore and the turnover does not exceed 250 crore rupees. The government has announced emergency credit, and in this emergency credit, business enterprises up to 100 crore of turnover and outstanding loan, they have been given an option to avail a loan up to 25 crore, and this loan can be availed. And the business enterprises shall be entitled to receive 100% of the credit guarantee covered by the government on the availed loan. That is the most important part of this loan, that entire credit is given by the government, and the link is there, in my this screen which I'm sharing with you. The link is also, I'll just share the website web address from where I'm putting it up. The entire information is there, and that link of that entire information is there in this this thing. And then coming to the next part, subordinate debt. The government is also facilitating rupees 20,000 crore as subordinate debt to 2 lakh MSMEs which are NPA or are stressed. So all those micro and small enterprises, and I think because many of the participants might be the lawyers or the law students, so they can always advise people or their friends or their known people that it is always very useful and important to get the industries registered under the micro and small and medium enterprises, because with that registration there are many benefits. So Government of India is also facilitating rupees 25,000 crore debt to 2 lakh MSMEs which are NPA or stressed, and government will support these stressed MSMEs with 4,000 crore through credit guarantee fund trust for MSMEs, and collateral free credit to MSMEs has been promised by the government, and the banks are expected to provide the subordinate debt to promoters of such MSME equal to 15% of their existing stake in the unit, subject to a maximum of 75 lakhs. So this much amount is available for the enterprises to take loan from, and the link is also there. Funds of funds, that Government of India has set up a fund of fund with corpus of 10,000 crore to provide equity funding for MSMEs with growth potential and viability. The funds of fund shall be operated through a mother and a few daughters fund. It is expected that with leverage of 1:4 at the level of daughters fund, the fund of fund will be available to mobilize equity of about 50,000 crore. This is a form of venture capital, that is equity financing or funding of an enterprise with growth potential and viability. The government hopes that this equity of rupees 10,000 crore can be in a position to invest in further ventures to an extent of 40,000 crore. Like, this is fund of fund. Once the fund has been generated, which will be useful for that organization to create further funding for the other mother and daughter organizations. And then global tenders. The Government of India has announced the general financial rules for global tenders have been amended to the effect that no global tender inquiry, however, shall be invited for a tender up to 200 crores. So this upper limit has been set up that there will not be any global tender up till a tender of 200 crore, and no foreign bidder would be allowed. So this will be helpful for the MSME. They can have better access to participate in the government tenders, and this is EPF, Employees Provident Fund support, which has been given to the business and the workers. The Gazette notification dated 18th of May 2020 of Ministry of Labour and Employment, government in exercise of its powers under Section 6 of the Employees Provident Fund and the Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952 has amended the Act it has cut employees' provident fund contribution to 10% from the existing 12% of 3 months, May, June, and July. This would increase 4.3 crore organized employees take home pay. So the EPF from 12%, it has been reduced to 10%. So they have more money at their disposal. And government owned entities, I mean the government and its own entities, both at center and the states, will continue to contribute 12% each towards EPF. So the employee will be contributing 10%, but the government will continue to contribute 12% each towards the EPF under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Package insurance scheme for the health workers fighting COVID-19, PMGKY. Government of India will contribute 12% of salary each on behalf of the employer and employee towards EPF for 6 wage month from March to August for establishment having less than 100 employees. So those establishments which have less than 100 employees, the government has taken up the job of contributing to the EPF, both from the side of employer as well as from the side of employee, for to the tune of 12% of the salary, and for the 6 wage months. And establishment having less than 100 employees and 90% of them earning 15,000 rupees a month. So these are the two conditions for where the government has offered to contribute for the EPF. So the employer is also relieved of the contribution of 12% and the employee is also relieved of the contribution of 12% of EPF. And force majeure is that by this memorandum dated 13th of May 2020, the Ministry of Finance has given a relief to the contractor, and they have been given by extending up to 6 months of completion of contractual obligations. So all those contractual obligations which the people had with the government, maybe construction contracts or all other contracts, relief of 6 months has been given for on completion of their contractual obligation, including in respect of engineering, procurement, construction, and concession agreements. This is applicable to the contracts and PPP contracts with government agencies. The contractual obligation which have to be completed on or after 20 February 20 shall stand extended for a period not less than 3 months and not more than 6 months without imposition of any cost or penalty on the contractor. As I said, the details are also, the link of containing the details have also been given. And similarly, the tax relief that has been given to the business has also been explained. Pending income tax refund to charitable trust and non-corporate business and professions to be immediately issued. This is first step forward by the Government of India. The Ministry of Finance has posted on 13th May 2020 reduction of rate of tax deducted at source. So TDS, which is deducted at source and collected at source by 25% from 14th of May 2020 to 31st March 2021. So TDS which was deducted, like say 10% if TDS was deducted, now the TDS to be deducted would be 7.5% as per this tax relief given by the Government of India. And tax collected at the legislative amendment shall be proposed in this regard. Due date of all income tax returns has been extended to 30th November 2020. Similarly, tax audit due date will also be extended to 31st of October 2020. The date for the making payment without additional amount under Vivad Se Vishwas scheme will be extended. I mean, Vivad Se Vishwas, that's a scheme where the Government of India is giving a window for people to resolve their tax disputes. Vivad Se Vishwas, that has also been extended till 31st of December 2020. So some of the very important government schemes I have issued, I think, in the chat box. And on this very website, all the notifications issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs right from the March 24th, all the notifications of MHA are available. And on this very website, all the important notification or circulars issued by Delhi High Court as well as the issues, circulars issued for the Delhi district courts, which include everything, how to do the e-filing, what are the required steps to be taken for e-filing. All those details with date and with the original source are available on this site. I think I'll share the link of this website. And now coming back to this thing, citizens' right, I think we are quite done with it. How to stop screen share, stop share. And now I'm in the chat, I'm putting the link. I have put the link of the website. I mean, especially this place. So we all look forward. This is a pandemic. Everybody is disturbed, but still, this is also an opportunity for people to have, to fight it out and to take this as an opportunity, to take this challenge as an opportunity, as the Honorable Prime Minister had been saying. Yes, there are people who cannot come out because of age and comorbidities, but now the situation is quite under control. So all that setback which our country has faced because of the pandemic, which because of the lockdown, can be revived or can be reinsured only when the economic activities start. So all of us have that responsibility and obligation that we should also contribute towards the starting or gearing up of the economic activities, and we must all take all the precautions which are there, like face mask, hand hygiene, and social distancing. When we are practicing these or we are taking these precautions, I think all of us, because it's we can participate and contribute towards the progression and smooth sailing of this country by contributing to the economic activities. That's the reason why I have chosen that subject of the benefits which have been announced by the Government of India for the MSMEs. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You've shared a lot of crucial information which is of importance to the common man. These were great insights and enriching viewpoints, schemes and data that it was very important for common man like us to know. A lot of times we do not have access to these resources, and due to lack of knowledge, we don't end up using the resources or we had access to. So I am sure we all have learned something new today, and thank you so much for sharing all this resourceful information.
Thank you. I think, Anu, can I leave?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Sumitra. Ma'am.
Thank you, Sumitra.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thanks, everybody.
Thank you, ma'am.
Moving forward, now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Anu Bhalmehra, ma'am. Ma'am is an associate professor with Maharshi University, teaching various subjects of law. She practices the applicability of those laws in real life by creating awareness and promoting gender sensitization among students. She has been actively advocating the need for anti-sexual harassment committee in colleges. With this, I hand over the dais to ma'am to share her perspective and views on today's topic.
Okay. Thank you, Sumitra. Good afternoon, one and all. I, Dr. Anu Bhalmehra, Associate Professor in the Maharshi University. Again, thankful to our Honorable Chief Guest, Jyotika Kalra ma'am, for providing us their valuable time for their busy schedule. And thanks, ma'am, for the wonderful information. And I also welcome ma'am Ingulbul ma'am to join us for this session. As all of you are aware that today's theme of today's webinar is health emergency and disaster risk management in the COVID-19. So I would like to discuss as the COVID-19 pandemic, which has resulted in a global lockdown, is a crisis as never before. In the rapid pace of the COVID-19 spread, it is necessary for the governments around the world to use extreme means and measures that would otherwise be considered Orwellian. Even the India's response to the coronavirus disease pandemic has so far been affected predominantly by the three different laws: the Epidemic Disease Act 1897, the Disaster Management Act 2005, and the Indian Penal Code 1860. After the declaration of the pandemic as notified disaster, the National Executive Committee of the National Disaster Management Authority set up on the DMA has been imposing the graded lockdown and issuing periodical guidelines to states for enforcing the lockdowns. Simultaneously, both the central and the state governments have fallen back on the epidemic disease to address the health aspects of this disaster. However, people violating the lockdown orders are being charged under the Section 188, Section 269, and Section 270 of the IPC. Even by its very nature, the ambit of the Section 2 of the Epidemic Disease Act is wide enough to allow a state or a lower functionary in the in in dealing with an emergency caused by the outbreak of a dangerous disease to seek or require the cooperation of the public and the corporate bodies in the public or the private sectors. If the desired cooperation is not forthcoming, the regulation may be imposed. Even the failure to obey and comply with the restriction imposed by such regulations constitute a punishable violation. Even the powers of the segregation or the quarantine that the central government and the state government enjoy may impede the political and the civil rights of the public. Even the fundamental rights as guaranteed by the constitutions are justifiable. Even the judiciary does not shy away from enforcing these rights or avoiding these orders that constitutes violation of such rights. Even if we are discussing about the quarantine is measure that adversely affect the fundamental right to move freely throughout the territory of India. However, this right is to be enjoyed subject to the reasonable restrictions that the state may impose in the interest, among others, of the general public. Even the Supreme Court of India has found that the right to privacy is an essential component of the right to life, but it is not absolute and may be restricted to prevent crime or disorder or to protect health, morals, or the rights and the freedom of the others. With the inception of the lockdown, we are discussing the public disclosure has shaped around the three major rights. There were the rights of life, wages, and the self-sustenance, and the right to health, and the right to food. States like Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab is an unprecedented move to acknowledge the need of the unemployed wages to curb self-sustenance of the poor. Similarly, the Delhi government is an attempt to guarantee the right to health to all individuals, has converted major government hospitals into the COVID-19 hospitals. Even in the many parts of the country, the government time and again assured constant availability of the food stock, the ration shops also. Even the rapid pace of the COVID-19 spread, it makes necessary for the government around the world to use extreme means and measures that would otherwise consider the overreaction. These emergency measures include attempts to effectively enforce a lockdown and strictly prohibit the track movements of the citizens in a bid to break the chain of the infection. As the governments are attempting to contain the contagious virus, the use of the technology for monitoring people and undergoing quarantine has doubled. Even it is obvious that the pandemic is reshaping our relationship with the surveillance technology, albeit to the fear of some surveillance could become a norm. And there is a growing concern among the certain private advocates that the technology enabled surveillance could persist beyond the pandemic once it gets accepted and normalized in the present times. Even we can say the government has invoked the Epidemic Disease Act 1897 and the Disaster Management Act 2005 to deal with the COVID-19 outbreak. Basically, these both the acts, the colonial era acts, do not specifically cover the surveillance in their scope. However, there is an argument that due to the basic residuary powers vested in the government under the mentioned laws, the government can take necessary steps such as surveillance to curb the spread of the virus. If the case is so simple, then it is doubtful that why the government has not availed the same residuary power to also notify the standing rules of the privacy or the lawful manner of deploying the technically enabled surveillance measure. As a natural consequence, government directive infringing an individual's right to privacy and liberty cannot test it for their legality. This is particularly dangerous in a country like India, where even a data protection statute does not exist. Even invariable disclosure of the private information of infected and suspected persons has prompted concern and possibilities of the social intervention. There have already been reports from across the nation of infected and the suspected patients facing the stigmatization and various forms of discrimination, which are further resulted in a negative social impact. And for instance, in the Maharashtra, the public listing of the coronavirus suspects on the social media led to several cases of the forceful eviction of quarantined people by their landlords. Such events question the proportionality and the necessity of the measures adopted. Even there is no denying that certain limitations can be imposed on the civil liberties given the urgency of the COVID-19 crisis. However, in a democratic setup like India, it is expected from the government that its action be transparent. And it is suggested that the government should hold no secret about its surveillance techniques as they were purposively for the benefits of the public only. And it should adopt a method of the public notice system, such as the local district administration has to notify the measure and the manner of the surveillance before its implementation. And the present situations calls for the government to take substantial measure to protect the lives and the health of the public at large, but this should not be happen in the utter disregard of the principle of the constitutional democracy. There is no hardened choice between public health and individuals' right to privacy and liberty. Both can mutually coexist under the legal framework that guarantees the challenge to the unnecessary expansion of the surveillance regime. Thank you. Sumitra?
Thank you so much for your golden words of wisdom, ma'am, and thank you for enlightening us on the legal aspects. This pandemic has definitely been very difficult for us, as rightly pointed out. A lot of fundamental rights have been compromised on. We've gone through a lot of trauma and discomfort, physically and mentally both. So I think it is important that we have a dialogue on this. Moving forward, now I would like to introduce a very special guest, our international speaker today, Madam Ingun Bol. Our international guest is from Netherlands, and I thank her from the bottom of my heart to accept the invite for being a speaker in today's session, despite the time difference between the countries. Just a little background about ma'am. Ingun is an entrepreneurial woman having a successful career of almost 20 years in corporate environment and a successful entrepreneurial journey of more than a decade and a half. She has been an entrepreneur and an advisor in across industries, across various segments. She is a connector and builds bridges between organizations and people. She always chooses the human approach. She's very grounded, take it from me, and builds futures based on trust, respect, empathy, compassion, equality, diversity, authenticity, sustainability, and collaboration. Some values which seem to be vanishing from the world we are in now. Her philosophy is, in this world of change, she believes that each and every person has to take responsibility of their own future, the future of their family, the community, and of the world. She believes that we are moving from a target-driven society to a value-driven society, where we empower people who will step into their leadership and change the world. As a founder of Female Wave of Change, she is able to connect women worldwide. She is a strong believer that authentic feminine leadership is the way to move and drive change. Female Wave of Change aims to connect women to share knowledge and experience and to create new opportunities together. As president of the board, she leads Female Wave of Change into the future. With this, I hand over the dais to our honorable speaker, Ingun Bol. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. What a great introduction. I was thinking, what do I miss? I'm a mother of two beautiful daughters and the grandmother of almost 2-year-old Jackson. And that is important in the world that we live in right now. So I am also going to share my screen. So let's see if this works. I think so. You should be able to see my screen right now. Oh, and this is the last slide. So I'm going to not fast forward, but back. Okay, so just a very short introduction of Female Wave of Change. What is this kind of organization? Because when I got this invitation to join you today, my first response was, well, you know, I'm not an intellectual, I'm not a scientist, I was so many things that I was not, but I thought, well, you know, yes, I am, I should be there, because I think it is really great to see what the response of Female Wave of Change globally was to the COVID-19, of course. So Female Wave of Change, short global movement. We started in 2017, so only 3.5 years, that aims to change the world into a better, more human, more conscious, more sustainable, more connected world for all by using our feminine values and energy. And yes, we're almost represented in 45 countries. And that grew really very fast and very organic. We strongly believe that women all over the world and at all levels of society need to step into their authentic feminine leadership and be the change. That is also why we focus a lot on education with, for instance, our Women Leading in Change program that is online, but also locally, because we really want to reach out to women also in remote and rural areas, and there's not always the online version available. So a couple of our principles. We do not fight the old, but create the new. We're very much aware if the system doesn't work anymore, we have to create something new. So we're not going to fight the old system that doesn't work, but we are going to create. We really want to reshape the future. Since 3.5 years, we're sharing with each and everyone who wants to hear us that we are going to change the world. And this is what we really are doing right now. This is our time. We believe that we can change the narrative by changing the mindset, the heart set, and the soul set. And this is an expression of one of our global ambassadors, Bisila Bokoko, who is a serial entrepreneur and doing great work all over the world. We believe that we are the ones that we are waiting for. And this is from a poem of a Hopi elder, so the indigenous people. Yes, we are the ones that we are waiting for, and we are not waiting for anyone else to do something, we are the ones. We embrace the social development, the Sustainable Development Goals 2030, of course, but we talk about the 7 generations thinking, again, from an indigenous people, the Iroquois Indians in the United States. Why 7 generations thinking? Because then with each and every decision we have to take right now, we have to wonder what the impact will be on the next 7 generations. So on what is happening today, but also on what will be happening in the future. And we really believe that if we can bring this in people's mindsets, then already in a couple of years, we can bring a lot of change. If we talk about the feminine way, it is very much about moving from your head and ratio to your heart, to your feeling, your intuition, your consciousness. And that's not always easy. And especially I'm here in a very, fantastic group of people, but mostly scholars. And I know that, if you want to do things the scientific way, it is very much about knowledge, but we also have to use the other side. We have to use from knowledge to wisdom. We have to move from power and money to well-being, happiness, compassion, empathy, respect, and love. We have to really find success. What is this world really about? What is life really about? We have to move from competition to collaboration. We have to do things together. It's not anymore. We don't have time to talk me and how wonderful I am. It is about us. It is about we and how we can really make a difference and make an impact. So when COVID-19 ended up our doorstep, there was lots of plans, and we had just launched our strategic plan for 2 years. We don't think further than 2 years. If you live in a world of change, that's all we have. But it was even faster, that world of change. So when this happened, we thought, okay, let's stop the things that we're doing, refocus, reflect, well, first reflect, rethink, and reshape. So phase one was the first month and a half. It was very much about dealing with the fear and dealing with the uncertainty and the unknown. So doing meditation sessions, doing online coaching sessions, etc. We had to rethink. That was phase two. So what do I feel? What do I learn? What do I value? And what gives me joy? That was the next step. And then slowly we were moving into, okay, now we're going to focus on the future. Because we can wait till COVID disappears. Everyone was talking about a future after COVID. We are talking about a future with COVID or whatever is coming next. But there will always be a future with something with a challenge, with an issue, and we have to work on that. So new futures, new horizons, new normals, and really act on that. So we did learn some valuable lessons already, and we have recognized these positive developments and learned these lessons. So authentic feminine values embedded in leadership. Yeah, there were many, well, many, not enough, but a nice group of women leaders who were leading their countries very fast beyond COVID, but really doing the right things and acting from their heart. We have seen how important community and solidarity is. We saw the well-being of individuals and the collectiveness, how important that became. Rethinking and adjusting our operational systems, innovation and creativity, people on the spot, entrepreneurs on the spot changing to the things that needed to be done. And we saw that the care for nature and all living beings, so that improved as well. And nature improved. So we did see the sparks of hope. Let me see. Yes, so what did we do? So in June 2020, we launched a global statement, and it was, dear global leaders, dear global decision makers, but what was even more important, dear global citizens. Of course, we can really look at all these leaders and decision makers, but it is us that really have to drive change, and we have to do it now, we have to do it today. So what can we do? How can we act? And what are the key areas for Female Wave of Change to act on? So we have defined 5 key areas to work on. One of the first is humanity. And it would really be great if we can acknowledge humanity as the core of our decision-making and actions. It all comes back to who we are. We are one human race. We are equal regardless of our gender, the color of our skin, the cultural background, religion, our financial situation, the country where we live, and our sexual orientation or our disabilities. Let us embrace that diversity, act from our hearts, and work on creating a peaceful, safe, and fair environment for all. The second area was education. Let us focus on education as our most powerful weapon, which we can use to change the world. And it was a very wise man, Nelson Mandela, who told us so. Together we have to make good education available worldwide. And I hear the other speakers mention, there is more people are going online, but it's not enough. If children have to stay home and do a home education, they need to be online. And they're not. A lot of them are not. So we have to embrace the uniqueness of each and every child and to offer the space to develop into their authentic personality and stimulate using their full potential. And it's not only about numbers and results and things like that, but it's really about how can this child develop into their unique self. But we also have to provide lifelong learning. People have to work way longer than they used to. So we have to provide each and every one access to education. We have to empower the authentic future leaders. The next area is economy. And I already heard, great to hear the first 2 speakers also mention about what is already happening in your country. Great. The economy is very important. What is for us is very important, that we have to redefine success and bring it back to a human level. We have to step back from money and power, which is still so important in our society. We have to bring it back to well-being, health, happiness, purpose, social impact. And we have to create business models to support it. And funding. It was good to hear that there are already funds available. Let us create those new opportunities together. Opportunities based on a positive impact on society, a positive impact on the environment, and support people with the necessary knowledge and success. And I think that, well, for me, it's great that the lady leading this team working on economy is actually from India, Geeta Kapoor, and she told me that she would be here. I have no idea, but it's great. She is a serial entrepreneur and doing already amazing things in your country and internationally. So it's great to have her on the team. And also, you know, creating those new opportunities. You know, of course, we are in totally different countries and totally different continents. But if there is a business model or an opportunity working in one country, why not duplicate it to the others? Why do we think that everyone has to invent a wheel? Why not share that knowledge and share that experience? Very important for the future. Health. And that is one of the topics, of course, right now here. For us, it is very important that we are going to move from illness care to health care and health promotion. So focus our actions and measures on prevention by promoting and supporting health and well-being, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And as far as I know, I think a country like India is doing this much better at a higher level than that we are here in Europe. But I think there's also a risk that you lose it because focusing too much on the traditional, well, the Western healthcare. Let us provide those who are mentally or physically challenged with the care they need, regardless of their background and current situation. You know, in our global team, we had to share the announcement that one of our members passed because she lived in a country, had a disease, lived in a country that there was no access to healthcare, no access to medication, while she was suffering something that would have been easily treatable in other countries. That is so sad. And then the environment, of course. Let us act from the awareness that we are the keepers of the planet that belongs to future generations. We are only the keepers of the planet that belongs to future generations. There is no planet B, and we have to give Mother Nature the opportunity to heal. And we have to do it now. And, you know, and as told, I embrace the Sustainable Development Goals, but we have to act way faster than 2030. We need to leave future generations a planet where they can live healthy and happily ever after. So Female Wave of Change, we made this statement. We launched it. We are working right now in those teams, working on all these key areas. And of course, we expect global leaders, decision makers, lawmakers, and governments to act on whatever is needed. But we also really want to talk with these global citizens. That is you and that is me. How can we, within the spirit of Female Wave of Change, contribute to a better world? What can we do to be the change? Think global, act local. Change starts with me. It starts with us. And we are reshaping the future by educating more and more women to be the authentic feminine leader. We are working towards, with all these actions, working towards our global conference on September 26th. Reshaping the future, accelerating positive change together. Why? Because after that conference, we need that blueprint of actions on global and local levels, what we as Female Wave of Change members are going to do in the world. And we really invite you to join us. Thank you very much for inviting me to be here, and I'm very honored to be part of this very powerful team of speakers and participants. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That's a very strong wave of change across the world, 45 countries and going strong. So proud of the work you're doing, ma'am. We're very thankful and grateful to you for sharing your views and a perspective and starting an organization, having female leadership and leading the change, which is so much needed in challenging times like this. Thank you for doing so much incredible work for humanity and